Hey guys, welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Dan, and let's get right down to it. We got a great doubleheader of 2 fights, 1 night coming. First, we got UFC Fight Night 43 coming from Auckland, New Zealand. That begins on the West Coast at 11:30 p.m. tonight. And then we got San Antonio for UFC Fight Night 44 tomorrow. So, let's get down to it. I'm going to go over all the matchups real quick and let you guys know who we're going to be betting on. And yeah, so let's just jump right into it. All right, our first betting pick is going to be Neil Magny. He had a very impressive win not too long ago against Tim Means, and we think that the line is a steal at him at -305. So we're going to go ahead and parlay him with Ray Borg, another great fighter, coming off that close loss to Dustin Ortiz. And we're going to go ahead and parlay them together, -305, -400, to get the line at -152. And we're going to go ahead and play that with 2 units to win 1.32 units. Then we're going to take the underdog in Mike Rhodes upsetting the Australian Robert Whittaker in New Zealand. This is not a first of all, let me just say that our only rated picks on this card are going to be Neil Magny and Ray Borg at 3 stars, very small, very conservative. And all of our other bets are not rated betting picks. We are just using it as a little bit of an extra incentive to increase the units for us and for you guys. So yeah, we're going to take Mike Rhodes to, we just like the line too much for him to upset the Aussie Robert Whittaker. At +245, we're going to take 1 unit, which will pay out 2.45 units. And then we are going to do We're going to do 6 parlays, or a round robin, as some of you might know what that's called. It's basically 6 different parlays of 2 fighters, and we're going to have 4 total. So every combination of 2 fighters between these 4. We like Cody Gibson as the underdog. We like Colton Smith as the underdog. We like Hakran Diaz as the underdog. And we like Nico Musoki as the underdog, even though he's going up against undefeated Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum missed weight, and the reason we like Hakran Diaz so much is because he's coming off of a pretty tough loss to Nick Lentz, but Ricardo Lamas is also coming off of a tough loss against Jose Aldo, and so we feel that line is a little bit it should be a little bit more towards pick-em odds, to where there's value in the underdog. And then obviously Colton Smith, yeah, he's lost 3 of his last 4. But this guy comes out and he fights. He was very close to finishing his last fight before he got caught in that room naked choke out there in I forgot where it was, but it was a fight for the troops. And then this Cody Gibson kid against Johnny Bedford. Johnny Bedford is kind of like a he really doesn't go out there and to score points. He goes out there to win fights by finishing. And if he doesn't finish the fight, usually he'll lose by submission, which we think Cody Gibson has a very good chance to do at +200. So that's basically the whole gist of it. If you add it all up, it will be, I'm sorry, the 6 parlays, or the round robins of 2, are going to be 1.02 units total spread out, which will be 0.17 units each individually, and the total will be 1.02 units to win 9.12 units. And if you add that with our play on Rhodes and our parlay on Magny and Borg, we've got 4.02 units overall to win 12.89 units. And that is a profit that we very much would like to hit and expect to hit of +3.2. I'm sorry, not plus. 3. Let me say this again. Of +321 of whatever your investment is. So whatever that is, if we hit everything on our card, you should have more than 3 times that amount at the end of the night, or at the end of tomorrow night, considering this is 2 cards. So that takes care of all the bets. Let me just go over the picks overall. We like Te Huna to upset Nate Marquardt in the first round. He just looks like he wants to doesn't want to lose. Both these guys are coming off of I think Te Huna's coming off of a couple losses. Marquardt's coming off of a trio of losses. Marquardt's last fight was at 170 and hasn't really done that well since at that point and at that weight cut. And he feels that if he eats more, he's healthier at 185, and he's shown he's done better at 185. But at the same time, Te Huna fights at 205, coming down to 185. Fighting guys like Glover and Shogun, just guys that are absolute beasts out of Brazil. To have the hometown crowd in New Zealand, we just feel like that he has a significant advantage over Marquardt, who is probably at the end of his career, but at the same time, both guys are fighting, and this is a must-win. Real quick, let me go over the rest of the card here. Soa Palelei over Jared Rosholt. Charles Oliveira to win over Hatsu Hioki. Robert Whittaker over Rhodes, but we're going to put a play on Rhodes. Don't forget, we're going to put a play on Rhodes. So Whittaker, if you want to play him, that's fine, but we do not recommend that. We like to play on Rhodes based on the odds, and that's what we're going to do. Dashon Johnson over Matthews. Richie, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Richie over this guy's a tough name also. Sangcha-an. Indich over Grujic. Obviously Neil Magny over De Lima. Ian Entwistle over Hooker. And Jean Vellante over Sean O'Connell. And that's it for New Zealand. Now for San Antonio tomorrow, we really wanted to make a play on Cub Swanson in this one, and after seeing the weight cut that Jeremy Stevens pulled off, and how possessed he looked like he had a shot of Lasix. My dog and I used to like to go to the racetrack, and we talk about now which fighters out there are like horses that have a shot of latex. It's almost like a TRT for horses, and we like to joke around about that. And Jeremy Stevens at the weigh-ins looks like he has this TRT shot of Lasix, and it's just kind of scary to place any kind of money against him, especially when Cub Swanson is the favorite. Now, having said that, you could say Jeremy Stevens is a gold mine, saying, oh, he's a lightweight fighting at featherweight, but then you got to look at other lightweights that have come down to featherweight to fight Cub Swanson, such as Charles Oliveira, such as Ross Pearson. These guys just got knocked out. So, and Stevens has got a chin, but Eve Edwards knocked him out. So it's kind of hard to say that Cub Swanson isn't going to win this fight. So we don't recommend a play on the main event, unfortunately. And there's just too many ifs, ands, or buts. I myself will be taking Cub Swanson, but it would not surprise me if Jeremy Stevens wins a decision, and that's how my dog sees it. So moving on, let's go. We already talked about Nico Musoke, a small play on him in that round robin over Kelvin Gastelum. Just the line is just way too far spread. They're too much to disrespect Nico Musoke on the odds. And Kelvin Gastelum is great. I mean, we've seen him look great everywhere. But there's just something kind of nagging at us about the line on that one, and that's why we think, or that's why we're going to make a play on Nico Musoke, even though we're kind of torn on who's actually going to win that fight. Cesar Mutante Ferreira over, excuse me. Mutante over Andrew Craig. Now, originally, I thought, oh, Craig's a good choice. I always thought Mutante had a questionable chin. CB Dalloway exposed that in his last fight. But then it's hard to say that Luke Barnett didn't do the exact same thing to Andrew Craig. So both these guys are coming off pretty disappointing losses. Not that they lost, but how they lost. They just looked terrible in the fight. And their opponent wasn't that well known at the time. So it's just kind of one of those things where either guy could win, and don't recommend a play on it. Again, we already talked about Hakron Diaz upsetting Ricardo Lamas. I think Lamas is going to win just because Diaz is coming off the same bad loss that Lamas is. Only the difference was it was to Nick Lentz and not to Jose Aldo, the champion. We like Antonio Braganetto over Clint Hester. This Braganetto guy, don't recommend a play on it because of the layoff and injury. But this Hester guy, we've seen some flaws in his previous fights, and we think that he can be exposed by the Brazilian here in San Antonio. Joe Ellenberger making his UFC debut. Again, I'm picking against Ellenberger. My dog's going with him, and I'm picking against him for a number of reasons. The reason I'm picking against him is just because the debut, it was just kind of prolonged. He was supposed to fight with his brother, and his brother recently just lost. There's just so many things that are kind of nagging at us on both of these, where it's too many fights could go either way, and it's just hard to lay any money on it, especially when the odds aren't reflecting how we think the fight's going to go. Obviously, Colton Smith, we like to upset Ferreira. Let's see here. Cody Gibson, obviously, over Johnny Bedford, we already talked about. Now, here's an interesting one. Marcelo Gumarais, I can't even pronounce this guy's name either. Marcelo Gumarais. I heard them say it on the weigh-ins, and I haven't exactly got that one down. He's kind of a drama queen. I remember his fight with Dan Stitkin went kind of weird because he kind of just started making a lot of noise and just got really emotional at the end of that fight. And but other than that, his performance wasn't that great. And he's coming off that loss to Lim, who we know is a beast after going 5 rounds with Saffiedine in Singapore. But this kid Andy Enns, when you beat this kid like Clint Hester did, when you beat this kid, you don't beat him without scratching your head like if you actually won the fight. You beat him wondering, okay, I scored more shots, but this kid kept coming forward. And a lot of places like Las Vegas, if you're fighting and you're coming forward, the judges will give you the fight, even if you didn't do anything. If you just kept coming forward the whole time. It doesn't always happen, as Nick Diaz found out, Carlos Condit, but it's just one of those things that just too many ifs, ands, or buts. I'm taking ends. My dog's taking Gumarais. Obviously, already talked about Ray Borg. Ray Borg over Howell. That should be pretty solid one. Again, it's only 3-star small play. Too many factors on that, but that one should be coming in. And the last fight, or I should say the first fight tomorrow night. The last fight I'm talking about. My dog's taking Hamilton over Olenek, and I think it just has to do with age. Overdoing his opponent. I'm taking Olenek by submission, but again, too many factors on this one. It's just heavyweights. You just can't rely on a sure thing really with heavyweights. So let me just go over the picks real quick one more time. Te Huna, Palelei, Oliveira, Whittaker, Johnson, Vaculik, Indich, Magny, Entwistle, and Vellante. That's all tonight, starting at 11:30 here on the West Coast, because we're on the other side of the world from New Zealand. And then tomorrow night we like Stevens. I'm sorry. The picks are Stevens, Musoke, Ferreira, Diaz, Neto, Ellenberger, Smith, Gibson, Gumarais, Borg, and Hamilton. And went over all the plays again, or went over all the plays earlier. So if you need to replay those, that's what the video is for. And then obviously The text documents will be there, all verified third party. And yeah, we're really excited after a couple weeks off, after a head scratcher at UFC 174, and we can't wait for next weekend for not the double header exactly, but the back-to-back days of fights in Las Vegas with UFC 175, and then the Ultimate Fighter 19 finale, and then we've got some other great cards in July with Donald Cerrone, Jim Miller, Diego Brando, Conor McGregor in Ireland's first UFC event, and then finishing off the month with UFC on Fox with Lawler and Brown, and then from there the rematch with Aldo and Mendez. It's just all coming up so fast, and we're so excited, and we can't wait to see these fights. So with that being said, my name is Dan, and I'm signing off from MMA DAWGS. We will see you guys in the next video.